We've had a few days to digest the G1 Climax 35 finals, and New Japan fans seem to be having some heartburn issues with that digestion. The winter didn't go down very well with a lot of people, but we did see a very good in-ring tournament. So we're going to look at the positive and our top 10 matches of the G1 Climax tournament. The negative. Not all that many people saw these matches. We'll have to talk a little business too, plus a Forbidden Door preview. So we're going to get to all those things and a little bit more with Jeremy Finestone. I'm Stephen Conway. This is Speaking of Strong Style. Welcome, everyone, to Speaking of Strong Style, where we discuss the news, issues, and events surrounding New Japan Pro Wrestling. Jeremy and I are contributors to the Fight Game Media Network. And Jeremy, a few days since the G1 final, how have you spent your downtime? We haven't had any shows this week, and we're not going to for a while. So we have this little strange zone where our schedules aren't being dictated by New Japan. How are you spending the time?
Well, my wife is still convalescing, so I'm watching a lot of the show Psych right now.
Yeah.
That's the current show du jour. Totally pleasant, cromulent programming to have in the background. Boppy theme song, the whole deal. Playing some video games. Basically trying to do as little wrestling coverage as possible because I love the G1. It's a great time of year. We get a lot of attention, all the stuff. Got good feedback and all that. But it's exhausting. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot of work to do to keep up on it and just like devote the mental energy. You know what I mean? Like there's a little bit of mental energy that you stretch over, 5 weeks, and it's just that when that burden's kind of lifted and you can just kind of get back to not thinking about 20 wrestlers in a tournament in Japan. It's a little nice to take that breather.
Yeah, absolutely. And Zach Minger wants to wish everybody a happy, good old Burger Day. As every week, he lets us know what day it is. It's a good old Burger Day, apparently. Man. So Zach's
the flyby, happy day, happy Burger Day. I think I'll have a burger today.
It's a good idea. Colin is here. Good to see Colin. USVA guys here. Good to see you. Maria Graciela Zayas. We got Fernando Zayas here. I'm glad to see all of you as always. Yeah, I've been trying to catch up basically with the other tournaments that have been going on. I'm not quite there yet, but I am very close to being caught up on the 5-star Grand Prix for Stardom, which has been an excellent tournament so far. Another one that's I've really enjoyed. We'll be watching some more of the Dreamstar Grand Prix as soon as I'm able to for that. So that's how I'm going to spend my downtime, kind of catching up on the other tournaments that are going on, and then trying to get through more of 1985 when I go back and look at the archives, especially now that we don't really know what's going to happen to the archives when this Peacock deal is over.
YouTube, maybe not,
Yeah, maybe ESPN. That's possible. I've heard some people say that they think it's going to go on there, and other people say it's not. Who knows? So I'm going to watch it while I can. So I'm going back and checking out things like the World Championship Wrestling and World. Mid-Atlantic and Mid-South and all that stuff from there. Yeah, all the territories from there. So
also the monkey on your back?
A little bit. And I have been watching some of the Vault. I found a 4.5-hour Terry Funk mixtape was the name of this clip that WWE's Vault YouTube channel put up. So the WWE Vault is a pretty cool channel. There's some stuff, you can pick and choose. If it's stuff from the Attitude Era, I skip it. I saw it the first time. But there's other stuff like a 4-hour. They call them mixtapes, and it's just a mashup of Terry Funk interviews and matches and things. So I just kind of sat back and watched a little Terry Funk.
That's a good way to spend an afternoon, sober or otherwise.
Yeah, and it was a kick, Jeremy, because it starts off with a Terry Funk interview telling a story to Jim Ross that he had a dream, and in this dream he was talking to his father, who's been passed away for a long time, and a woman drove up, a woman in distress, Jeremy. She was stressed. She was worried. She rolls up to the Double Cross Ranch and said, "I think I just ran over this hideous creature." And they said, "Well, could you describe it?" And they said, "Well, it had this big nose and flared nostrils, and it is just snarling, and it seemed scared, and I hit it with my truck." And Dory Funk Sr. says, "I think you hit a jackass." And he said, well, what did it smell like? And he said, it smelled like cheap cologne and hairspray. And he said, you didn't hit a jackass, you hit Ric Flair. Ha, and it's this long story. And my girl
punchline for that
and
one.
I looked at my girlfriend who was passing through the room, and she just got this look on her face and said, that's 3.5 minutes out of my life I'll never get back.
Never get back.
And I just said, you sat and listened to the whole story, didn't you? And she said, yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's good at that.
Yeah, I have definitely gotten back into a video game that I haven't been able to play that much, but with the Switch 2, they upgraded the sequel to The Legend of Zelda, like Tears of the Kingdom, and so you can use an app to like track down monsters and all this other stuff. So I'm just trying to get that monkey off my back of that video game, because for me, like, if I don't finish a video game, it's either very deliberate or like just life got in the way and I have to make that decision. Like, am I going to finish this or is it going into the pile? And this one, I'm going to finish. So
all right,
that's my monkey on the back.
All right. Well, we hope everybody there listening to this either live or later on as a podcast or on YouTube has something to fill their time that they enjoy as well. And let's see what we have here.
Hobbies. We all got to have hobbies.
So, yeah, we're going to take a look at the top 10 matches. That's going to be the fun part here. But we got to talk about business here, Jeremy, because some things came out on WrestleNomics this past week.
Right.
And we knew
you broke our no texting rule for this. So
I did.
We're doing it. I was like, this is clearly we're going for it. So we thought about like putting it in the middle of the show, but no, let's just talk about it. Let's just have fun for the rest of it after we do this. Yeah. So
also, because a few days ago, a clip was posted of Dave Meltzer talking about this on Wrestling Observer Radio, saying things that we've, if you listened to the show a month ago, you would have already known. He was saying, it was basically saying all the same stuff we've been saying except started 6 weeks ago. And look, we need to address this because it's not just the business isn't what it used to be. It's not just the business is a little bit off. This has crossed the line into business is now bad. Jeremy, this was a poorly attended G1. There's no way around it. Total attendance for the G1 this year, 43,078, an average of only 2,267 a show. That is down 12% from last year. But most importantly, Jeremy, that number, 43,078, is the lowest attended G1 in the last 10 years that didn't involve government mandated limits on attendance. So 2020 and 2021 obviously had fewer, but people were literally not allowed to go. In that, there was a big attendance was limited. You could only have people every other seat. It was, and no one wanted to go out. It was, and Japan cracked down harder than most. No cheering, all that kind of stuff. That extended into 2022 a little bit, by the way, some of the no cheering things. And yet this year, if you take out those two, when 2020 and 2021, lowest attended G1 in 10 years. And that was tough to see when I watched that. I 5,000 fewer people than 2022 when we were just starting to come out of this pandemic, and now fewer people going this year. It is a concern. And the biggest, of course, was 2019. A lot more people, like almost double. And 2018 wasn't too far behind 2019. So those 2 years were good, which shows you how much the pandemic kind of kneecapped the entire company. But a lot of reasons for this, Jeremy, but a lot of them were the things we talked about last week. There's a G1 winner that the crowd didn't like. All the people that they could have pushed, they didn't. And it fell flat. I predicted before it that it would be down about 10%. It was down 12. So I was pretty close. Just the sameness of the tournament, the lack of pushing anybody at all, and that actually works for New Japan full time. The over and over disappointment, the sameness of it, but without two of the biggest draws in Goto and Naito. It just
yeah.
There are real warning signs too. The attendance in Osaka was embarrassing, flat out embarrassing. That city has over 20 million people. 20 million, Jeremy, live in Osaka, the greater Osaka area, and fewer than 1,000 of them went to that one show that was at the Yamamoto. Yeah, just
that was like a 4-match card that just had nothing really to offer, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bad show.
It was a weak card on a weeknight, and it shouldn't have happened. But that's where we're at. The strength of these cards was not what it could be, even the caliber of the matches. Every night had good matches, I don't think New Japan is danger of going out of business. But here's the reality of it is ticket sales and merchandise drive this company. And if the ticket sales and the merchandise are sagging, we're going to get less shows.
Yeah.
Until we can get more shows. They will be conservative. They will run what they can run. But the idea of, big stars coming in to blow up business, I think they're starting to find out that's not really a good idea. They leaned on John Moxley for a little while. They're doing Takeshita right now. We have seen incontrovertible evidence that all we have left in Japan is very much a diehard New Japan audience, like a fandom that is the ride or dies. And they have seen their big stars go to AEW. And to present to the ride or dies, an AEW signed option as the guy to win the G1 seemed like a very big misread of the situation.
Yeah, here's my point on this. And we see that some of the cards, there's no Takeshita on a lot of these cards coming up. So who are the 4 people that the crowds were actually kind of sort of excited about? Now, the next generation guys, let's put it that way. The crowd's not excited about anybody. They're not showing up.
Shota, Yuya, Yuya, Ryohei.
Let's go. Let's look at him. So Narita's a heel. So him failing in the G1 should.
He's on a different path. He's on a completely different path.
So we had Oiwa, not his year. We talked about that before. He's going to have a year. He'll have years plural, but this wasn't it. So he didn't make the playoffs.
Rookie year would have been wild if he had made it further.
Yuya Uemura. This is a guy that they seem to want to get behind, but he had a chance to make the playoffs and failed. So, and that can be the heartbreaking story. I've mentioned it before, the heartbreaking loss that drives him to win later. I'm okay so far with this. Oiwa next year. Okay. Uemura on the brink, but fails at the end. Here's where
before we get to the next guy, of all the things that they did that they should have regret for, I think they made a mistake with Yuya Uemura. Okay. In hindsight, they needed a homegrown guy that, while it wasn't going to blow up tickets right now, you needed to set the groundwork of this is the guy. You could have used the injury last year where he blew out his elbow. There was absolutely nothing wrong with that narrative of setting him up in a situation that he didn't see last year. An injury took it all away, but he's back, he's healthy, and he's better than ever. You could have done that, but the conservativeness of their booking and thinking that Tanahashi was going to be enough this year for the G1 for the babyface side was completely ill-advised.
So, Shota Umino made the playoffs, failed.
Yeah.
Yota Tsuji, a finalist last year. This year, he gets to the semifinals and fails. Regresses, does worse in this G1 than he did the year before. So what you're looking at here is Narita's a heel, and then Uemura, almost there, fails. Oiwa doesn't make it. Shota, first round, out. Tsuji, worse than last year, makes the semifinals, gets screwed over by Evil, and is eliminated. So you're saying all these guys failed. But buy a ticket to see these guys, because the guy that didn't fail ain't here. Can't be bothered. Takeshita's not coming. So why in the world would people buy a ticket to see this when they know, once again, you were just...
all their homegrown guys are losers.
Yeah. And not good enough. The guy that is good enough can't be bothered to show up.
It's not going to be travel on the back roads. It's going to be on the bus with the rest of them on the road 2 shows. The
opposite message they should be sending right now. And it is fair to say, people can criticize Geto. Go ahead. Go ahead. I think that they made mistakes, a lot of mistakes along this way. But eventually we're going to have to start asking the question, is Hiroshi Tanahashi a good president? Well, because I'm not seeing a lot of evidence that this company is headed in any correct direction whatsoever.
You set me up for this one, but the realization I came to when we were talking about this is that the mistake that Hiroshi Tanahashi is making is that he's too focused on Hiroshi Tanahashi, the wrestler, while he's president, rather than the rest of the company. They were titching their horse to Gabe Kidd. He's injured. He's probably leaving. You know what I mean? Like, you had Yota Tsuji. He is irreversibly damaged at this point. Like, what you did to him in this tournament is a kneecapping. And I know that there's a story and all these things. Like,
oh, I'm tired of these stories.
It really does come down to the audience needed a hero. They needed somebody that's like, that's the guy. When we have a show and we have the top babyface and they're in the main event, we know that he's going to win. And we're going to go home happy because he's our avatar. He's emblematic of the cerulean blue, of the lion mark. He is New Japan. He is Shin Nihon. That whole deal. They had an opportunity to do that, and they decided instead that we're going to try and unite the wrestling world with Konosuke Takeshita, which is, again, a huge misread of the situation, because right now you have a Forbidden Door show in which on the G1 finals, we were talking about Takeshita is going to unite the world in pro wrestling. You have Tony Khan in a press conference talking about the schedule of Forbidden Door being so close to the G1 that we couldn't book any of this talent, as if he didn't have complete control of this a year ago, and he's passing off the buck over his choice of scheduling, and then saying, oh, well, it was really tough, you know, like no, you need to own your own decision-making and scheduling. And we don't see any of these guys. I said, 12 people from the New Japan roster, and right now, maybe that. But Takeshita is supposed to be the G1 winner, and uniting is neither on the road 2 shows for the next tour. He's nowhere to be seen other than the last go-home episode of Collision before Forbidden Door, where he's running back a match with Ishii, and there's not even a match announced for him at Forbidden Door. The G1 winner, co-signed by AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling, and you could not get a match on the books for him anytime before 2 days before the show, if he even has a match at all. There were people that were telling me, I just want to see how it plays out. No. That is goalpost changing and water carrying excuses. This is everyone involved in the decision making of this show knew Takeshita was going to be winning this tournament. It wasn't, wasn't like tightly closed down secret, but everybody involved in this show at the booking level was gonna know that. And the fact that we did not have a match for the guy that is arguably the biggest like merged talent between 2 or 3 companies right now is very frustrating. And I'm trying to measure my like reaction because I don't want this to be like a rage mate thing, but it happens every year. This Forbidden Door kind of booking and scheduling. We are taking the ticket sales out of Japan and trying to like do something else over in the UK. I don't even know if we're getting domestic American shows for the rest of the year for New Japan. The Strong, that whole deal. It's such a mess right now without a cohesive vision of what they want to do. And the Takeshita thing is so emblematic of it all that I just get so frustrated.
Oh, Colin mentions that he should be on Forbidden Door, and that's negligence on Tony Khan or Ghetto's part. Remember, Ghetto books, but he doesn't decide what the events are. I mean, that's Tanahashi's fault, to get him on there. I mean, it's really silly that we have to keep talking about this in that just the disrespect that AEW shows toward New Japan's stories. And we'll get to that cage match when we get to the Forbidden Door thing. None of that makes any lick of sense. They're not even attempting to. Brad, glad you're here. No problem. We're glad you're with us. But the other thing I'm sick and tired of when it comes to New Japan is this, it's coming. It's these losses are just going to set up the big triumph. It's a slow burn. Slow burn. The fire's out. There's no slow burn
stoking
anymore.
embers.
You let it smolder
fire.
and it's gone.
Yeah.
Remember, the guys we're talking about, Uemura, Tsuji, Shota, Ren, they're closer to 30 than they are to 20. How long does it freaking take? Enough. There is evidence, objective evidence, that this company is in the dumper business-wise. And they still are making them all seem like there is nothing special about beating them. The other point that you mentioned here, Tanahashi being the guy that in his prime was the keeper of the cerulean blue and all that stuff. You're right. But that's the point. He was somebody that the fans could believe in, and he didn't always come through for him. He didn't go undefeated. He would lose matches, but all of his losses were important, and they meant something to the guy who beat him. Please tell me, what does it mean to beat Shota Umino, Uemura, Oiwa, or Tsuji right now when so often they fail in the key moments? It doesn't even help the guy that beats them anymore. They all just look like mediocrities right now. And those are the guys.
The middle of the road guys. Who's the baby face for each show to close down the shows?
Yeah.
It's not Goto. He's not there. It's like, are you running with Taichi as like your top babyface?
I think that the fans probably a larger percentage of fans like Taichi than like anybody else on the show. Uemura could have been, but we'll see what this failure did for him again. Probably not a whole lot. And look, nobody's buying tickets to see these guys, so you can't sit there and say, well, that guy's over. None of them are over. None.
You look at the guys that get the reaction, and they're the guys that don't love pro wrestling and don't work for New Japan because they love pro wrestling. They work for New Japan because they love New Japan.
Yeah.
I don't see Taichi working anywhere else in the States ever. You know what I mean? Like Evil, like only
as a New Japan guy coming in as a guest, but as a New Japan.
Maybe, but have we ever seen Taichi like wrestle anywhere in the US really?
I don't know. Who cares about the US? They need to get their Japanese business together.
Is that like these guys are New Japan. They care about working in New Japan, and that's why the audience reacts so well to them. It's because Evil and Taichi, these are the guys that are at every show, that are working every night, whether it's a multi-man tag or a main or the bottom of the card. All the diehards know the ones that they can count on to be there when they pay their ticket, and that's why they got the reaction.
And more evidence that Bushi Road fans as a whole are pushing back on this whole part-timers thing is that Suri has more heel heat in the 5-star Grand Prix than any of the heels. The hate is the heel faction in Stardom. They're like the House of Torture. They'll interfere in each other's matches and all this stuff. They don't get nearly the heel heat Suri does because they're sick and tired of seeing part-timers come in and beat the stars. And there seems to be this Bushi Road wide mindset of, oh, good Lord, this part-timer has come in. We must exalt them. Like, no, that's the person you can set it up, but eventually your star needs to beat that person because your star's got to be the one to draw the money. And yet Suri comes in, beats everybody. I know she's probably, that she's taken a couple of losses and all this stuff, and Takeshita winning the G1, they are vocally pushing back against these people. They want even if it's Evil, right? Even if it is Natsuko Tora in hate, Saya Kamitani is basically a babyface without trying to be. But even if it's a member of the hate group, they are still sitting there just saying, we'd rather have that than someone who can't bother to be here the rest of the time.
We want to invest in the people that are going to invest in us.
Yeah. And then Brad mentioned something. I'm going to read some of these things. Crash TV is here. Glad to see you, Crash. None of the homegrown guys are over. Therein lies the root of the problem. Absolutely. And Brad mentions when Sean Ross Sapp put out his report about Evil not being used in AEW and mentions, something that went under the radar. He said that the U.S. New Japan wing has been shut down.
It was reported. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, there are no NJPW strong events going on, but to me, that's good. You got to pull back and just focus on Japan. That should be the only thing this company cares about. Never mind running shows in San Jose or where I am in Texas or Las Vegas, which I would love an excuse to go back to Vegas, but it's just not necessary right now. There, when when the body is in trouble, the blood comes in, right? Like the whole thing is like if you're freezing to death, all the blood gets drawn back into the vital organs in the middle, right? This company's freezing to death. Get everything back into the heart of the matter, which is Tokyo, Osaka, Hokkaido, Sendai, Fukuoka. Get those towns up and worry about the rest later. I don't care about drawing 3,000 people in San Jose if you can't draw.
It wouldn't even be 3,000. It'd be like 1,200.
Never mind. Say they get a bigger building. They need to draw 4 figures in Osaka.
Yes.
For the love of God.
I hear you. I mean, I was thinking about the New Japan of America. It was something that was kind of pinged to me within the last week that Kidani. I'm not going to have the specific details. I'm not a reporter, but these were conversations that were had. It's that Kidani wasn't happy with a whole lot of stuff going on with the company, and
do something about it.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening. I think the New Japan of America shows, they're a misfire with different visions trying to muddy the waters. Mm-hmm. Rocky is probably a point of contention for a lot of people, but in both companies, because some people might think he's a spy. They went precipitously, at the point that he became the VP. And we never really got a whole sense of how that all went down. But, one day he's VP, and all of a sudden it just feels like those domestic New Japan shows were in service and piggybacking off of AEW, and everything about it just kind of felt like the stepchild that was an add-on.
Yeah, it definitely fell off because they stopped really having their own storylines. They were, like you said, they were basically junior AEW shows with some New Japan guys doing jobs.
The weekend assortment of programming just happened to have a New Japan show on it. There was no rhyme or reason to these shows other than, hey, let's get Alex Windsor on here because we want to kick the tires on her. That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And Crash TV is asking, who could draw 4-figure attendance in Osaka right now? Now, well, to be fair, the second time they went into Osaka, they did draw four figures. They were over 1,000 people. I'm just saying that the idea of just drawing in an outside of that little prefectural gym inside Edion Arena, if you're going to run a building in Osaka, it should draw a lot more than 1,000 people. And who could? Yeah, I mean, a big Stardom show probably could. A big Noah show probably could. Not house shows, to be fair. But New Japan ought to be able to. It's the biggest company in Japan by quite a bit. Even with the attendance in the dumper, it's the biggest company in Japan by quite a bit. And in a city of 3 million people, you ought to be able to convince 1,000 of them to come to your show.
The reality is we don't really have any solutions to this. We just can see that the problems are massive, and they don't seem to be offering solutions that are addressing them.
I think I know what the solution is. It's like you got to pick a guy and go with him. Just freaking
But they're not
go.
doing that.
Well, like, no, you said you don't. You said that we don't pretend to have solutions for this. I got one. Change the way you're booking. Pick a guy and go.
Everybody has that solution, and they're not taking it. So whatever their problems are, we can't fix them because they are focused on the wrong things. That's my whole point. Like, they have lost sight of the forest for the trees, trying to jumpstart the promotion with a guy that they think is the next version of Inoki in Japan, which with Takeshita. They have Aaron Wolf down the line at 6 months. Neither one of these are truly tested in New Japan Pro Wrestling, but we're assuming, or they're assuming, that these are guaranteed successes that are going to lead to the revitalization of the promotion, and there's zero evidence to support this.
Yeah, well, USVA guy says G1 being held in Namba is not really in Osaka. I'm assuming you're moving that college because that college arena is about an hour away from Edion where it normally is, but that's still well within the city limits of Osaka, and it's on a bunch of train lines. I don't think New Japan gets that excuse. And then as far as the other one,
you two, I got nothing on this one.
As far as the other one goes, it's at a convention center, which is designed to have thousands of people show up to it. If it's a convention center, you don't get the excuse that people can't get to it. It is home to places that draw thousands and thousands of people regularly. So sorry, I can't let them off the hook just because it's not in Edion. You can find the doggone buildings. It's not that terribly hard. The whole thing's just kind of frustrating in that sense. The business wise,
We're past warning
and
signs,
they just
and then
don't seem to be learning.
Warning weather is what,
and they just don't seem to be learning the lessons, which is scary. That's a little nerve wracking to me that they don't seem to be learning lessons. And as far as like the slow burn thing goes, I just don't want to hear that. You shouldn't have to reach your 30th birthday before you can become a star in pro wrestling. In fact, there's a lot of evidence that if you jump in a lot sooner than that, people will go with it, because there's nothing more exciting than an exciting young star. Nothing more exciting than that in sports.
What's the next big show? Not Blue Steel, but Destruction in Kobe? Or no.
Yeah, Destruction. The Destruction shows are coming up. That's the next thing. So the next thing is Blue Justice, and then Road to Destruction is the next one.
The Destruction shows are low key some of the most important shows of the year.
Yeah. It's gonna be a major deal. It's gonna be a major deal.
If those shows are flat and they're uninteresting direction going into Wrestle Kingdom, that's the problem.
Yeah, and last year attendance was better, and it ended up being a Wrestle Kingdom that made people think that they needed to completely change direction. So imagine what happens if they go into it and end up with fewer than last year. So a little nerve wracking. It's a little nerve wracking.
Yep. Well, that was a fun, pleasant conversation.
Look, we wouldn't be doing our jobs if we just ignored that.
Yeah, right. I mean,
everything's fine. The matches were good, and yes,
nothing
they were.
to see here. We're fine. How are you?
Yeah. And Brad mentions that 18-year-old Rena for Stardom is one of the most exciting talents in all of Japan and in all of pro wrestling right now. And did Youngblood need 2 years away from excursion? No, they sure as hell didn't. And yeah, you're right. I mean, Rena, it's a different thing, of course, because the Stardom wrestlers no longer, because Bushiroad changed the policy, but we're starting at like 14 and 12, 12 and 14 years old. Starlight Kid and Azumi starting that young. The twins started when they were, I think, like 14 or something. So you won't be seeing as much of that, but they don't wait until they're 30 to pull the trigger on them like that. I mean, Aya Sakura didn't get into the business until she was in her mid-20s, so you can't use that one. But it is silly that how long they're waiting, and then now they're just not pulling the trigger. But it was a good in-ring tournament. The weird part about all this, Jeremy, is the wrestling was really good that people didn't pay to see.
The conversations around the tournament dominated the actual tournament itself.
Yeah. Colin is asking, who would decide that Tanahashi wasn't the answer as president and change course? Well, it'd be Bushiroad. Yeah, get on in Bushiroad. Yeah. And that would be a painful divorce if it comes to that. That's a tough one.
We got to get past Wrestle Kingdom and see how Tanahashi does when he's not the focus of his attention.
But remember, both Great Muta has had 10 years as president and were removed. And so Tatsumi Fujinami. Also, and all those guys, you could argue, were just as big to New Japan as Tanahashi was, and they did not last. They did not last. Magic Johnson was a terrible head coach and one of the greatest basketball players that ever lived, but a terrible head coach. So it doesn't always work.
We were critical and mean about New Japan potentially, but you want to know something, Steven? I really like New Japan Pro Wrestling. Do you know how much I like New Japan Pro Wrestling?
How much do you like New Japan Pro Wrestling?
I like New Japan Pro Wrestling so much.
What is that? Whoa! You got that is a big Lions
big ass rug that I bought, and I have no regrets whatsoever.
Is that going to go under your chair there? Or are you going to be broadcasting
in the middle of the room? It's like
it brings the whole room together, man. Brings the whole room
right in the middle of the room. And I just bought it. And I was like, man, I really love New Japan, and I hope that rug doesn't go out of business. USVA guy says he's got his USVA guy. It's got a fantastic rug. I talked about the rug a while back. I'm like, you should get one of these rugs. You're like, yeah, I don't know about that one. I'm like, no, you should get one of these rugs. They're really cool.
We're gonna start broadcasting Jeremy live from the Lion Mark itself. There you go.
Yeah. So I propose to you that we do a top 10 list of the best matches arbitrarily, purely our opinion, no science whatsoever,
none.
Top 10 countdown of the best matches of the G1. And I have stolen this format shamelessly from the Ringers House of R, where they do top 10 lists. Now, here's the deal, Steven.
Yeah.
If either one of us has the same match on our top 10, we defer to the higher ranking.
Okay.
And
Understood.
then we skip over it and we will talk about it then. So we could potentially have only 10 matches to talk about. We could have 20, but we won't have any more.
Okay.
So we'll
All
start
right.
from there. And I will throw out, I have 2 honorable mentions that I'll throw out there that for a variety of reasons we're just not gonna just didn't make the cut. And the first one was from the last night, and it was Shingo Takagi and Drilla Maloney. And I just wanted to get a Drilla Maloney match somewhere into the conversation because I thought he had a fantastic campaign, but there were just such a high quality caliber of these matches that I couldn't quite get it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because that match, the one you just mentioned, probably was 11th. I had a list
Right,
of
exactly. I had it. I was right on the outside,
Yeah.
and Shingo having a couple others in there. Drilla turned a lot of heads, but it just didn't quite make the 10.
Uemura and Bolton just didn't quite make it,
Right,
and that was a really good one. So there's there
And
are
then
other
for a
good ones.
variety of reasons. I asked you to remove the playoff and the finals because everyone's going to watch those anyways.
Yeah,
like you're going to watch 5 matches. You're probably going to watch the playoff series. So we're sticking with just the block matches because I think those are the ones people are trying to figure out what block matches do I need to see. So,
Jeremy, what was your number 10 match of the G1 this year?
From August 3rd, Steven, I had David Finlay defeating Evil.
David Finlay over Evil. Okay. All right.
There was a sense of you're building up something over a course of years. And this was the culmination of the Savage King babyface, in which we haven't seen, but have been kind of like itching for in a lot of ways. And he basically brutalized the entirety of House of Torture. And it wasn't a particularly great match, but it was a satisfying match. And there were a couple of those satisfying matches in the entire tournament that I wasn't able to throw in there. But for whatever reason, the vision of David Finlay suplexing Don Fale and then just falling through and just beating the crap out of everyone in House of Torture was just really enjoyable to me.
And then my number 10 was El Phantasmo and Takeshita. And it was
I have that higher up.
Okay. All right. So there you go. For me, we'll get to that one when we get to it then. That was my number 10.
Why don't you go with your number 9?
Shota Umino against Zack Sabre Jr. on night 4. I really enjoyed it. There were a lot of submission work. There was a lot of submission work from Zack Sabre Jr. Shota fighting it off. And it showed again that he can sell and show perseverance, which is something that he needed to do. There wasn't the pouting that you sometimes get in Shota matches that doesn't quite work for me. Instead, he fired up, hit a wicked lariat that Zack sold by doing a full flip, and then hit second chapter to win. And I just thought this is more of the Shota we need to see that we did not see late in the tournament at all. Unfortunately, they did not follow that advice, even though it was right in front of them. Nevertheless, terrific match, and it's probably the version of Shota Umino that might accidentally get over someday if they're not careful, although they seem to be very careful in making sure nobody is getting over.
I tripped over my own gimmick, and I have that in the list later on, but we're going to get to that. I am with you on everything that you said.
Okay.
I'm with you on everything. So my number 9 is Taichi and David Finlay.
Okay. I had that one a little further up. Didn't I? Yeah, I actually, we can go ahead and talk about those because it's my number 8.
Great. So Taichi and David Finlay really highlighted to me what Taichi brought to the tournament.
Yes,
100%. It was an intensity and a veteran attitude that said that, you all may be the young ones. You all may be the ones head of factions. You all may be all that you think that you are. But I have been here with the greats, and I stood toe-to-toe with the Okadas and the Naitos and the Ibushis, and I beat them sometimes. So you are not going to just get one over on me. And this was just kind of a reminder of what Taichi does. He had some leg kick matches. I think with Oiwa, he called back the leg kick match in the tournament and all these things. But David Finlay was the ultimate bully for any of his opponents, and Taichi's strength was being the avatar of all things New Japan, if that makes any sense.
And for me, I also, yes, they're all good points. I also thought it was a great storytelling match in that it began the process of putting Finlay so far behind that 8-ball that he was teetering on the edge by the end of it. This wasn't his last loss in the tournament, but this was one that you could feel pretty good about if you were a Finlay fan that he was going to win. When he lost this one, there had to be some Finlay fans who were just thinking, are they just going to job him out of this thing? Like, are they, and it set up the comeback very nicely because this was seemingly an on paper, very winnable match that he didn't win, but worked in a way where it made sense he didn't win it. So I just thought it was really well done from a storytelling standpoint also.
I think this was his third match and his second loss on the 22nd.
Yeah.
Because I think on the 20th he lost to Oiwa, and then I think he beat Newman on the next night.
I'd have to go back and look. Yeah,
I'd have to go look. All right, so number 8 is one that we skipped over, but it was El Phantasmo and Konosuke Takeshita. I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor again and start with what you were saying.
No, I just thought that night 2 was a bit of a rough show. It wasn't going very well until this match, basically. It seemed to get the show back on track a little bit. It got the crowd into it for the first time after a couple of duds kind of took the people out of it. And they were and then that got everything right back because I think it was second from the top, and then the main event on night 2, much stronger matches. And it felt like this one almost was pulled everybody back together and said, remember, guys, we know how to do this. We can do this because there have been some fumbles. So I thought it was an important one for that one because night 2 could have been kind of a disaster if this one didn't work out. But Phantasmo and Takeshita didn't let it happen. These two get along in real life, by the way. I mentioned before that I stayed in the same hotel as Takeshita and Kenta on Wrestle Kingdom week. Right. And one time I was walking out of the hotel, and way ahead of me was Takeshita. I didn't talk to him. I got a chance to talk to Kenta for a while, but not to Takeshita. But as he was leaving the hotel, he walks out, a van pulls up. It almost looked like a scene from a movie with a kidnapping. The van pulls up, the side of the van slides open, and there's Phantasmo and he just goes, "Let's effing go!" And Takeshita hops in, and they go tear it off to go do whatever it is they did that night. So,
that's adorable.
It was kind of fun. Good match, and then, like I said, got a rough night back on. So I liked it. I put it on my top 10 list.
Yeah, no, it was. Takeshita has a lot of matches on here. I'm just gonna there's about 3 or 4 people that have multiple visits on my top 10 list, and that's not to say that others didn't. It's just this tournament revolved around a select few. So,
all right,
number 7, Shingo Takagi and Shota Umino.
Shingo and Shota. I'm looking at my list. I don't believe I have that one, so go ahead.
I thought this was a great walk back to these two, their feuds. One of the things about Shota Umino in this tournament was that you got a chance to see this version of Shota in which he kind of debuted 25 pounds of muscle mass, tried to go with like a medium or powerhouse style. And when you revisit stuff with him wrestling Shingo Takagi, and he's been wrestling this guy a couple of times throughout the year, you really see the progress that he's made within all of his matches. And for Shingo, this was one of those matches that really compelled and convinced people this guy was going to go to post-block play. Like, Shingo Takagi doesn't have an off switch on his wrestling matches. And so every time that he goes with intensity, you're compelled to think, like, how could they not put this guy in the post-block play? He goes hard all the time. He is that guy. And so if you're looking for a representative match on both of these guys, I'm just kind of circling Shingo Takagi and Shota Umino.
All right. My number 7 was Yuya Uemura and Yota Tsuji from night 4.
Mine was number 6. So okay. You go for it right now.
My point on this one was these two understand that their rivalry will someday, if we get better booking, be important to this company. And I think they take their matches against one another very seriously. And it reminds me of some of the classic rivalries in that they are both being careful to do a callback, to use what has been done before and take one more step with it. And I don't necessarily mean danger, but in storyline, a move that gets a 3 count is countered in their next match. Something or a counter is finally hit in the, or a move that they didn't quite get in the last one, they landed. They're careful about doing things like that because I think they have a sense that someday Uemura versus Tsuji is going to be a key match on a major New Japan card. And I like that. I respect that. They work very well together. I like the contrast in personalities. We've talked about that before, but this was my number 7 because I thought it was yet another good example of them taking what they've done before, adding a little something to it, and wrestling a really strong match. And night 4 of this tournament was one of the best nights of the whole tournament. And I thought they had the best match on it.
I agree with everything that you said.
Thanks.
I will say this, though. I think Yuya Uemura surpassed Yota Tsuji in this match. And I think that there was an aspect of, I began to believe that Yota Tsuji wasn't the guy after this match and watching Yuya instead. And I think that there is a connection and a relationship with the audience that Yota Tsuji has not quite tapped beyond the smile. You know, the relationship between Yuya and the audience versus Yota and the audience are not the same relationship. You know, it's and this is one of those matches where you watch it and you kind of see it, and you see that each one of these 4 baby faces have a different connection with the audience. And Yota Tsuji is fantastic. And I'm not necessarily sure if the decision to not go with him this year was because he wasn't ready or the company didn't think he was ready. And if the company didn't think he was ready, why didn't the company get him ready? And so that's the kind of thinking that I have with this match. With that said, I think this was Yoda's best match in the tournament.
Yeah, company's not getting anybody ready. They just want them to all kind of stay on the same level for right now for no reason. You talking about Uemura, though. Yes. Number 7 was the beginning of a 3-match run for Uemura in my countdown. So he is my number 6 against Ryohei Oiwa at Korakuen Hall.
Guess what? That's my number 5.
Okay. Well, we'll get to it then. What's your number 6?
Yota Tsuji and Yuya Uemura. I'm just one above you on all of these.
I see.
We're very close.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about that one then. Oiwa and Uemura at Korakuen Hall. I just thought that this was the classic babyface match. Barry Windham versus Rick Steamboat type of stuff. Like, you could not get more white meat babyface type of thing than this one. But again, we mentioned it when it happened. The crowd was very much into it and excited to see these two wrestle each other. They wrestled clean, but they wrestled well. And it made me want to see more of these two in the ring together. And it was a combination of that I thought was maybe 4th place. That, you know, Tsuji and Uemura captivated me. Shota and Uemura, just because there's that underlying tension. Is Shota going to turn? You know, Tsuji and Shota, just because they've had some good matches in the past. And it occurred to me while watching this, like, oh, wait a minute, it's Oiwa I want to see in these spots sometimes too. So strong performance, really good match in Korakuen Hall, which always adds to the atmosphere. It's just that cauldron of sound, and it worked on a lot of levels for me.
I had a lot of high expectations for this match. Yuya Uemura and Ryohei Oiwa as a first-time match as main roster guys had me absolutely salivating with an expectation that I hope this is good. And it was very, very good. And it was the first time out. And you know that these guys are going to be circling back around with each other for many years to come. And so this is one of those matches, just like Yota and Yuya, where we are going to have cataclysmic semifinal New Japan Cup matches, big G1 matches, you know, main event cards with a combination of these 4 guys, Shota included. You know, like, this is the future, and you really have to look at matches like this and just be like, put this one down in your mental Rolodex because this one's going to be important.
And Crash TVA 83 says Yuya had opportunity to be in multi-tags with the ace throughout, and they came out side by side a few times. And it was clear from the presentation you can draw a direct line. Yeah, they want you to make that connection, and they are working hard to make that connection with the fans. And then his next question is, though, is Yuya anywhere near ready to carry the company? Not quite yet, and not just because of the bad booking part of it, but this is my point on Yota Tsuji. They seemed to be getting us ready for it. He had the global title run. We saw him come out last in all those tag matches. You know, it was Shingo coming out in front of him, even Naito coming out in front of him, then Tsuji holding a big belt. They were kind of, it seemed like they were getting us ready, and they might still, it could happen. But that's the kind of thing that Yuya needs. He needs that never open weight title run, that global title run. We need to see him as a champion a few times before he's ready for the big one, I think. But that would be my next step for Uemura. Not necessarily the world title right away, although, again, I won't argue with anyone if they decide to actually go and push. But that would be my recommendation, is that we need to see Yuya as a longer-term champion and then build him up toward the world belt. But Crash TV said he's looking forward to future bouts and feuds between Oiwa and Yuya. Well, sure, yeah. I mean, it should be, if done right, an excellent rivalry over the years.
What I need to see is clear indications that they are behind these guys.
Yeah.
You know, Uemura has not won a singles title yet. Yota Tsuji just lost the mid-level singles title. A lot of these guys, they haven't done the basics to get them elevated to that top level. You can, because they haven't won a title with a guy like Yuya, you could just shoot him straight to the world title picture and you could do it because he hasn't won any other titles, because that baseline expectation hasn't quite met, even though he's beaten a guy like Evil, who was in the finals of the G1. So you've laid some aspect of groundwork of making this guy a top guy, but you have to be aggressive in following that up and showing to the people who are watching and attending these shows that you are clear in the directive in portraying this guy as a top babyface.
And it goes into my number 5, which is Finlay and Uemura, the last night of the block action. So that was, to me, excellent match. It portrayed Finlay's utter desperation to complete that comeback and get into the playoffs. It showed Yuya's drive. He hit the high fly flow in the match, so his desperation to also be the babyface savior, and then the heartbreak of coming up just short. Finlay's elation at, am I in? Am I in? They're just like, I'm in, right? That whole thing. You saw how much it meant to Finlay. Finlay portrayed that well. And so I really enjoyed that match and the story surrounding it.
I thought they did a great job in that match in manipulating the audience to be compelled and interested in Finlay's journey. Because he has not been a guy that you want to cheer for or root for or do things. But I don't want to say manipulated, but they manipulated him. He had that Evil win. Like, he had dominating wins and then by the seat of your pants kind of wins. From the point of like, it was, if you don't win, you're out. And so Yuya being the guy at the very end was almost like a double-sided blade, because you knew only one of these two guys were going to go in. And you knew that Finlay has so much more cachet right now with New Japan that you almost had to do that with him. Otherwise, there'd be a lot of conversations like, if David Finlay's staying with New Japan kind of thing. Just, he's ahead of a faction and all these things. I thought that match was fantastic. It was probably just number 12 for me.
Okay. All right. And what's your number 5?
It was Yuya Uemura and Ryohei Oiwa. And
Ryohei
my number
Oiwa.
4 was Shota Umino and Zack Sabre Jr., which you covered, I think, 8 or 9.
Okay. All right. So
we're on the final 3 for both of us.
Well, no, I have number 4. I want to talk over number 4 very quickly, though, because I'm looking at the time. We do want to get through this. Yoshihashi versus Takeshita from night 12. I just thought these two had really good chemistry, and I like a match that I think, this will be good, and then it's great. That's really satisfying. And this was a match for me. Other matches, are going to be, you expect to be great, but it's always a lot of fun when you think, oh, I'm interested in this one. This will be good. And then it's great. So Yoshihashi and Takeshita, the first G1 match of the night, that night, just tore the house down right off the bat. It was a raging fire finish, but it encapsulated Yoshi's entire tournament. Came out of the gate strong, but then he kind of hit the wall later, and his results didn't hold up the rest of the tournament, but his matches did. Like Yoshihashi had a really good tournament. And so I'm glad I was able to get a Yoshi match on here. And like you said, there's a lot of Takeshita matches you can choose from. I just like that they took the first one of the night and just decided, we'll just have the match of the night first tonight.
My honorable mention Takeshita match has to be that Okan match.
And by the way, they didn't, because there were two other guys later on that were just like, yeah, you're not taking that crown so easy.
Hold my beer.
Yeah, hold my beer. Yeah, beers were held.
All right. My number 3.
Yeah.
Zack Sabre Jr. and El Fantasma.
Oh, interesting. All right, tell us why.
Do you have that anywhere?
No.
I thought these two had a completely unconventional match in which, I don't want to use the phrase spider monkeys, but that's how they kind of wrestled each other, where they were using their agility, all the aspects of the ring, the ropes, the turnbuckles, all these things, from counters to flips. It almost felt like they were so comfortable with each other, and they were able to meld their styles, which are not the same style of wrestling, into something that was distinctly unique with these two guys. And you won't see a match like this anywhere other than like the G1.
Yeah, and then a comment from Brad here as we go to our discussion. He said, right now it's hard to believe that New Japan is going to get behind any young talent. They dropped the ball with Fujita. I guess he's assuming, I assume he means that Fujita didn't beat Desperado in the title match. He did win Best of the Super Juniors. If they had the same mindset with that, he'd have lost in that too, the way they did with the G1. But fair point, Brad. Fair point. They almost went with him, but didn't quite. Fair point. Shota's been mishandled. Oh, yeah. Oiwa, Tsuji, Yuya failing. Will they get behind the Knockout Brothers? Probably for a little while at first, but you can't feel good about any new people coming in. You can't. There's no evidence. I have a feeling.
I rule.
They will get. Oh well, yes. I think they'll be a lot of fun to watch. But are they going to get behind them? Do they get behind anybody? Do they get behind anybody? It's a fair question. Fair question. All right. So my number 3. Yota Tsuji versus Taichi in Kagawa. I thought that this was just a great strong style match with an excellent ending sequence of moves. Just if you took this match just out of context and put it anywhere else, it's still a really great match. It doesn't have to have the G1 story for it. He had a split crowd for one, because Taichi was so popular at the time and people were still behind Tsuji, and Black Mephisto finish, but just a really good, strong style match. Tsuji is good at these. He's got the size. I know he's not a huge guy, but he's kind of big-ish for New Japan. Same thing with Taichi, really, now that he's kind of bulked up a little bit, or at least filled out. And they hit hard. They hit with a lot of passion. They had good timing in as far as the momentum swings. I just had a fun time watching that match.
All right.
And Hollow Leagues mentions that Oleg won the Never title and Fujita won Best of Super Juniors. Yeah, well, we never denied that. I think Brad is saying, I don't want to speak for Brad, but I think he's just referring to the fact that after winning that, they didn't go all the way with him, and he lost. Well, first of all, he deferred his title match, and that seemed a little weakish. Like, oh, I'll do it whenever you're ready, Despe. And then Despe said,
you had strong guys like, yeah, I can just wait for my turn. Yeah, no, it's my turn. Get out of the way.
It kind of didn't make sense for Fujita's young punk character. Like, why would he defer to anybody? And then he lost. So that's just unconventional decision making that does not benefit a wrestler. Yeah, and Oleg did win the Never title. Yep, sure did. Who's
Oleg feuding with now? Coming out of this, what's his big program?
Don Fale.
Oh yeah, he's really been set up for success.
He's doing great. Yeah.
I didn't honestly know what that answer was, but I could not have been happier to be validated by that.
Don Fale. And okay, so
number 2.
Common thread in my top 2 here, and it is a guy that we are very familiar with in this one. My number 2, Shingo Takagi against Zack Sabre Jr., night 12 in Osaka.
Go for it.
And I just think there's a fantastic match between two guys who know exactly how to work with one another. And Shingo has a match, right? That BMF style match that hit hard and go back and forth and no sell moves and get back up and, the whole Scott. Right? And Zach is a submission expert and can still do some of that stuff, but he doesn't do the traditional Shingo match because of all of his submissions and flash pin roll-ups and stuff like that. Yet these two work together beautifully. So it looked a little bit different than a lot of Shingo matches because it was Zach. And indeed, he won with a flash pin after a roll-up. Zach kicked out of the Last of the Dragon, and they ended up he ended up rolling on top of Shingo, tied him into a knot and pinned him. Mm-hmm. And Shingo was kind of left with his eyes wide open, just going, "What happened? What was that?" I'm still, I don't even know.
How did I pass out? How did I plug out what happened?
Yeah, and so I thought it was a clever finish. It was a really, really good match, and between two of the very best in the world.
Ways, right?
Huh?
It was a protected finish in a lot of ways. Like Shingo didn't even know he tapped out.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, he got pinned.
He didn't even know he didn't even know he lost.
Who's your number 2? What's your number 2?
Shingo Takagi versus Konosuke Takeshita.
That was my number 1.
Okay. We'll hold off on that then, and I will. Well, no, because I have my number 1 as well. So
we can go right to it. And
Konosuke Takeshita and Shingo Takagi matched a similar theme with Shota Umino and Zack Sabre Jr., in which their match, the G1 block, were better than their Tokyo Dome matches. And this was one of the best matches of the tournament. It was a much better representation of the Takeshita style versus Shingo Takagi. And it went 24 minutes on July 25th. And it was just a hard-hitting, magical affair that really represented the best of the G1 this year to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said. Yeah, it's very good. I mean, it's my favorite match of the whole tournament. I just I watch that over and over again and enjoy it every single time. Just two great workers that were well motivated, and this was the night at Oda Ward that drew about 2,500, so they were probably feeling motivated after the previous night had been such a rough night attendance wise, and they were probably a little pumped up to see people out there, and they gave them a hell of a show.
So my number 1, and it should not shock anybody that it happened to be these two, given the amount of times both of these were mentioned on the show. But from July 30th, it was Zack Sabre Jr. versus Konosuke Takeshita.
Okay.
And I just felt like with the anticipation and circling this on the calendar and seeing that it was probably going to be one of the most important matches and feuds based off of, the theory of, well, Zack Sabre Jr. won the title, but we saw the ticket sales from the Tokyo Dome last year. And it would be wild if he ended up the champion going into that one. And there is a short list of people in this organization right now that you could put the title on. Takeshita was one of them, although in hindsight, there were some misreads on my end that made me feel confident on that one. Evil, Yota Tsuji, and that's kind of it, right? There were 3 or 4 guys that you could do that with. And so when you had this match, you were thinking main event caliber, 2 of the top of the best in New Japan, the best of the best. Did this deliver? And yes, it did. I think it was better than their post-block match, but it's very close. We removed the post-block matches from this top 10 because everyone's going to check them out anyways. And you're going to see that top rope brain buster that ended the Zack Sabre and Takeshita semifinal match that looked like Takeshita got knocked batty and basically got concussed. Kind of takes a little bit away from me. But their matches, this one especially, was just so good that it endeavors the rest of the New Japan roster to raise their game.
Okay. Well, there you go. Those were our top 10s, and it was a tough call. There were.
Oh yeah.
When I first made my list of potential top 10 matches, I had about 16 on there.
I was really angry with myself for doing this because it was a lot harder, and I feel like I asked a burden of both of us that like maybe I should have thought this one through. But I feel very validated that our lists were very similar.
Fair enough.
Like we had a lot of overlaps that maybe like had I moved one up or you had moved one down, we would have had the same ones. And sometimes you and I think very similarly, my friend.
All right. So there is a show coming up.
Yeah.
In a few days. It is the Forbidden Door show. And you got to give AEW credit, Jeremy. They have sold a hell of a lot of tickets for this thing in England.
They got at the near sellout 18,000 tickets. We talked about New Japan not being able to, book people, get people in the seats. That does not seem to be a problem here.
I guess if you go to England a couple of times a year, you can draw while you're there. Yeah.
With that said, it does not seem like the contribution from New Japan has been a particularly huge driver to making these ticket sales happen, because there was very little in terms of New Japan promotion getting them onto this show. We haven't gotten the full card announced, but we have 9 main card matches with a few 0 hour and maybe one more match to go. And we're gonna run that through. But beforehand, Tony Khan did a press conference, his whole press talking thing, and
oh boy,
our partner in crime on the Power Bombshells, Sam Shipman, who will be doing a pre-show on Forbidden Door the morning of, and myself and Garrett Gonzalez will be doing a post-show.
Yeah, the morning of. Remember, special time because the show is in England.
Yeah, so, they are going to be up very, very early, like 7:30 Eastern.
It's not easy to get Sam up early, people. This is a big deal.
It's a thing. So, Sam actually asked a question of Tony Khan. And so this was Sam Shipman's question about the scheduling of the G1, in which Tony said that ideally the Forbidden Door would happen before the G1, but that isn't the way it happened this year. That led to limited participation and build with NJPW and Stardom. He says that's okay because they're all a team and will make it work with who is available. He says the first Forbidden Door was the most challenging things he worked on because of the injuries and illnesses. Tony Khan said he personally asked Hiroshi Tanahashi to do the cage match, and Tanahashi said he would love to.
He probably did.
And that Bozilla was Tony Khan's first choice on the Stardom roster. He wanted an AEW, and the first time she's been available.
Also probably true.
Finally, Tony Khan said last summer he was looking at using Yota Tsuji for Forbidden Door as a possible AEW World Title challenger for Swerve Strickland. And he had been told by a few people that he had the best interest of Swerve and AEW in mind, that they thought a more established challenger would be better suited for the event.
Just kill me now. Kill me now. All right.
How do you not see a sabotaging of New Japan from that?
Yeah. I mean, just what you shout it from the heavens and it wouldn't become any clearer. It's just, my goodness. I wish this entire relationship would just go away.
You have Yota Tsuji, who you are trying to build as a main event guy. He did not need to win that match. He would have had a great match. He would have put the name Yota Tsuji on the minds of all the AEW people, and you could have run that back and revisited that year. I appreciate that he is trying to protect people who gave opinions that had the best interest of Swerve, but if Swerve doesn't have the best interest of AEW and greater pro wrestling, I find that to be a problem, because that seems more self-serving of Swerve rather than a greater benefit of uniting pro wrestling in general.
Forbidden Door has always been about helping AEW and not helping New Japan. It's never helped New Japan. It's always been about helping AEW. It has been a one-way street from the very beginning of this god-awful thing, and it is just getting worse and more obvious and embarrassing.
I had very high expectations with the first one. I thought it was a really good show, and then we did the next one, and it was fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, you disabuse yourself of the notion that this is continuity-wise a very important show for both promotions. Continuity-wise, in some aspects, is really just important for AEW, and it's the Scooby-Doo guest stars of Batman and Robin, or Laurel and Hardy in the cartoon, and that's what the New Japan contingent is on this one. We got, I think, El Desperado doing announcing for the Japanese commentary. You've got Tanahashi as a roster member. You've got Gabe Kidd as a roster member. You got Hiroshi Tanahashi as a roster member. Maybe a couple others that I can't think of, but less than 10 people on a New Japan collaborative show.
Yeah. And it's funny that they're going to have Desperado doing the commentary. And I use that word for a reason, because if you've watched any of the stuff that pops up on NJPW World with AEW on it, and Desperado is on commentary, and sometimes he pretty much laughs his way through the show. Yeah. Just laughs his way through the show.
I love that Hiromu Takahashi was called the best pound for pound wrestler that Kyle Fletcher could face, when the New Japan heavyweight champion is just doing commentary for the
show. Again,
oh man, I wish you guys could see me laugh crying silently.
I mean, remember, Tony Khan stopped watching New Japan in 2018 and hasn't touched it since.
Everything's fine, everybody. Everything's fine. All right, we got our first match. You ready for this?
All right. Yeah, and keep in mind, this is AEW, so Brad makes a point. They will probably book 5 matches the last night before.
Oh, absolutely. We're getting 3 0-hour matches, and I can pretty much guarantee that one of those is probably going to be the Ops versus the War Dogs, and I'm here for that match.
Yeah.
But it's also probably going to be a 0-hour match. So, wow, thanks for telling me how much I should care. You know what I mean?
Who do you think? Probably Drilla Maloney takes the fall on that one?
Robbie X.
Oh, Robbie. Oh, yeah. All right. I see what you're saying. Okay. I see your point. Okay. All right. Go back to the Forbidden Door. The matches we know are going to happen.
Yes. Well, the first match we have here is Adam Copeland versus Christian Cage, and Christian Cage versus Nick Wayne, who's no longer in the match, and Kill Switch is now in the match instead, and Kip Sabian. Nick Wayne broke his foot last week during the angle and is legitimately out for around 3 months. He did a very good job building up the match and transitioning over as Kill Switch, who the audience recognized as Luchasaurus as well. And that's what we got here. It is possible that Jack Perry is somehow involved in this whole thing. Somebody had to revive Kill Switch in a backstage scene in which he was revived back to life. It happened, Steven. It very much happened. And so that's what we have. We got Kip Sabian, Kill Switch versus the Rated R superstar, Adam and Cope.
We are weeks away from someone giving birth to a hand on AEW TV for all of the bad WWE trash ideas they are bringing back. And speaking of resurrecting old WWE trash, we have Adam Copeland and Christian Cage on one side as the senior tour rolls on. Good grief. Good.
This is a badly booked angle, but everyone's just all in on Edge and Christian. They just want to see Edge and Christian as a tag team. And
if it brings them closer to retiring, I'm all for it.
They overthought all of it just to give us a match in which you know what people are here for.
If it takes Cage and Cope one step closer to completing everything they want to do in the business, feeling they have nothing left to accomplish, and we can retire now, I'm all for it. Anything that gets us closer to that goal line of not seeing these two on television anymore.
Somehow I put the main event as the second slide, so we're going to skip right over that and go to this one instead. As a result of a 30-minute time limit draw between Brodito, which is Brody King and Bandito, keeps them out of the main event single scene. Okay.
Yeah, Brad's mentioning if this tag match keeps Cope and Cage out of the singles main event scene, I'm fine with it. Yeah, good point.
I never even consider them for the main event single scene, so I'm with you, Brad.
Yeah, they're not aren't main eventers, weren't when they were main eventers.
We got Brodito and FTR both challenging the Hurt Syndicate because they went to a 30-minute time limit draw on Dynamite last night. And good match on Dynamite. I had read the spoilers, so I was a little bit, I was not shocked when it ended up happening, but, kind of a weird, unconventional thing. Hurt Syndicate are a very polarizing tag team. They are enjoyed by the fans, but there seems to be some sense of backstage drama that follows them. I would not be surprised if they are not involved in the pinfall, but lose the titles anyways. It seems like that might be the direction that we go in. Otherwise, they're holding on the titles, and it could be Christian and Adam because they're big enough stars that Lashley would potentially be willing to lose to them.
Have we ever figured out what planet Bobby Lashley is actually from? Because this guy's superhuman.
No, he's just chiseled from marble and brought to life like Wonder Woman.
He's just amazing. How old is he? He's like my age.
He's like 48 or 49.
He's almost my age. Almost my age. Almost.
He's a genetic freak, and
oh my goodness,
I constantly marvel at the fact that I tend to write this guy off every 5 years. It's like he can't be doing this in 5 years in pro wrestling.
He's terrific,
and he has cultivated a big man short match style that has managed to work wherever he goes.
MVP's a terrific mouthpiece too for that group. So.
He is a mouthpiece.
I think he's great. He entertains.
I enjoy MVP, but he talks a lot of shit.
FTR, fantastic tag team. Bandito's a great wrestler. Brody King is a really good wrestler. So there's a potential for this to be at least a pretty darn good.
This is going to be. It is a better match with all three of these teams in it than a one-on-one match between 2 or 3 teams.
I don't know. There's an awful lot of 3-way and 4-way match stuff going on in wrestling now that it's far more than we need. So I wish we could just promote one-on-one stuff.
I'm with you, but I don't. But I think that the Hurt Syndicate have big spot potential, but the pacing of a match like this means that they can't keep up. So with the other 2 teams doing that and then throwing the Hurt Syndicate for power moves and, X Factor situationals, I think it could be a lot of fun.
Crash TV says Bobby is 49. Shelton's my age. He's 50.
I'm 45 and I look like a piece of shit.
Hey, Shelton, I just remember when Shelton, I was at the beginners class, not the one with the wrestlers that are pros at OVW at the same time Shelton was there. And Shelton was just this ridiculously good athlete. I mean, he could make his body do absolutely anything.
He's freak of nature.
Also really funny guy, really funny.
Good.
Like fun hang, Shelton Benjamin.
I appreciate that about him. All right.
That was 25 years ago anyway. Anyway, here we go. Forbidden Door. All right. So, hey, we got a Bushiroad employee. So we have Mercedes Moné against Persephone from CMLL. She was terrific terrific. She did a good job at Wrestle Dynasty. She and a couple of other matches out there. And then Alex Windsor, who's pretty talented. And then Bozilla. Now, Bozilla is second-generation wrestler. She is very, very green, very early in her career, but I do feel like she is improving. She was just in the 5-star Grand Prix, so there is a lot of iron to sharpen up against her. She was with Marigold, jumped over to Stardom, and here she is. Her goal is to wrestle in the United States. So she's trying to work that Mariah May path, and that it seems to be working for some. So I think she's going to give it a shot. So I don't think she's long for Japan, but she has improved, but she's still green. So Mercedes, Alex, and Persephone's, like some probably not quite on the level of Mercedes and Alex yet. But so what I'm saying is Mercedes and Alex are going to need to really kind of work their way through this. Persephone is pretty good. Bazilla's green. So that's what we're up against here. A lot of work to be done on the outside of this picture, Alex and Mercedes.
I tried to think like Tony Khan last week when I blindly asked you, "Hey, do you think it's going to be Bozilla that's the person from Stardom?" And you're like, "I don't know," and I was just like, "I don't know either." I was like, "Well, yeah, it's Bozilla because Tony Khan doesn't know any Stardom wrestlers."
Were any of them around in 2018? He would know those. Yeah.
I don't know, but
sure.
like there's just a limited amount of social media, and he just goes, "Oh, who's the big one?"
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring her over, and here we are. Shocking.
Well, the other foreigner in the 5-star was B. Priestley, and he's already let her go. So he wanted something different. Hiromu Takahashi challenging the TNT Championship, Kyle Fletcher. So
best pound for pound wrestler in New Japan.
They probably think so. This will be a hell of a match. Hiromu is still an excellent worker when he's in with the right guy. Kyle Fletcher is a really good wrestler, so I think this will be a really good match. I don't think there's any way in hell Hiromu's winning this, of course, but New Japan guy does the job here.
All I've wanted for the last 3 years. I'm a simple man, Steven. I don't ask for too many matches.
All right.
But there was one match that I have begged for the last 3 years. And God is my witness, I pray that I get this. I want so very badly for Hiromu Takahashi and Darby Allin to have a singles one-on-one match.
Yeah, that'd be fun to watch.
I think that would blow everyone away at a Forbidden Door match. And yes, I get that Kyle Fletcher is the flavor of the day. Kyle Fletcher is fantastic. Feeding Hiromu to Kyle Fletcher makes all the sense in the world. Hiromu can bump and is athletic and will make Fletcher look amazing. But I will walk this back every year at Forbidden Door until it happens, Steven. One day.
You gonna manifest it?
Takahashi and Darby Allin in a singles match.
All right. Well, we'll see if we get it someday. Who knows? Up next, we have, again, this really doesn't have anything to do with New Japan whatsoever, but the AEW women's title, Toni Storm against Athena. That'll be good.
Athena, I'm very worried for because I think she should win this match. I don't think she's going to win this match. I think there is constantly a sense of she's not the star that we need right now, and that's Toni Storm. But Athena has been very quietly doing fantastic work for the last 3 years as the Ring of Honor Women's Champion. And I get that putting her in the main event at Forbidden Door after winning a contract at All In is, yes, it's a push. And you are getting highlighted as a result. But there's a number of people who get a push that are no longer on AEW in the 2 segments that they offer the women on Dynamite and the 2 or 3 segments that they offer on Collision. And Athena really needs to be one of those people. Athena, Willow, Chris Statlander, these are the backbones of what your women's division should be. And as much as Tony is interested in flavors of the month like Thekla and Bozilla and all these things, like, you are missing the boat on some of these other talents while you waste your time.
Tony doesn't care about that. Here's the thing. What years of AEW wrestling has taught us that Tony Khan doesn't want great wrestling from the women's division. He wants skits and he wants characters. He pushed Britt Baker when she was not particularly good, but Britt knew how to do the skits. She was funny. She and her sidekick and all that. And they used to do all of those comedy sketches in and around Britt's matches, which were okay. Sometimes she had a good one. Most of them weren't very good. And then there was this little period where the women's division was just kind of floating around when Chris Statlander was an alien booping the referee. She got all kinds of camera time. And then Toni Storm comes up with this character. Now, Toni can work. Toni can work much better than almost anybody else in that entire company. She's one of the best female workers out there. But she figured out, I better come up with something because just wrestling, Tony doesn't care. He doesn't care about great wrestling from the women's division. He wants skits. He wants comedy. He wants yuck yucks. And that's what he wants here. Athena is a terrific wrestler, but she doesn't do comedy. And that's what AEW wants from its women's division.
Part of me, okay, so I've suspected this in the past, and I do think that there's a part of Tony Khan that if he didn't have to book, if he could get away with doing a wrestling promotion in which there was no women's wrestling, he would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can't do that in 2025. It's impossible, and he would not survive. He would not get the support. But I can see it in his booking that it's just kind of like, it's not his most favorite thing. And
it's there to amuse him, not to, yeah.
Well, that brings up another point, is that Tony Khan came up with Toni Storm's gimmick and went to Toni Storm and RJ City and said, like, can you make this work? And they're like, yes, we can. Like, we were going to do this because they saw the opportunity and they saw that their boss was coming to them. And it was like, they turned a weird, frankly, a bad gimmick into something that works and is making money for the company and has made Toni Storm a bigger star than ever. And for that reason, I just don't think they're going to take the title off of her.
Okay. What's the next match? Zack Sabre Jr. defending the World Heavyweight title against Nigel McGuinness. So once again, the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, a mid-card match against a challenger that has no chance of winning. Look, I'm happy for Nigel that he's getting this stage. It'll probably be a really good match. I like Nigel a lot. I liked Nigel a hell of a lot when he was a full-time wrestler. You know, my feelings for Zack, but this is just another thing where the IWGP World Heavyweight title is in a spot where it's a challenge that nobody is particularly interested in the middle of a card where it's going to be an afterthought.
So, maybe a month back, somebody actually told me the plan for this match, which was these two in a tag against another team. I won't say two. I won't say who, but if you were following like the G1 and whatever, you could read between the lines what that potential tag team could have been facing this contingent. I think because of the injury to Will, which happened so late in the game, they needed a UK-based like hometown match. And what turned into a tag with these guys together turned into a one-on-one, because you didn't have any other matches on this card. You know, like Will's in a big match, but he's hurt. Like he's clearly not going to be able to give 100% and be the Will Ospreay that you need him to be in a main event singles match or even a top level card. So you put these two guys in there, like beloved British icons of wrestling, and you give them a premier match on the pay-per-view. Your problem is solved. There's no one in the world that thinks Nigel McGuinness is going to win this match. But with that said, I think it's going to be a fun one.
Brad has a couple of thoughts here. He says, I'm going to push back on something. He's a Ring of Honor subscriber. So he and Sam are the two. And I have watched the show every week. Much of Athena's work has been skits with Billy Starks along with great matches. Well, I get that's only going to help Athena if she learns how to do comedy, because that's what they want. And then he also says, expect a Daniel Garcia turn here. That's what people are going to come out of the show talking about more than how awesome this match is.
Okay,
well, it's good
so
that the IWGP World Heavyweight title is there so that they can do a bottom of the card angle. Thank goodness we're a part of this.
Brad, I will be frank with this. My concern is that the relationship with the audience and Daniel Garcia is so weak right now, it won't matter. And they have telegraphed this turn, and I think a lot of people are expecting it, and it would be a mistake not to do it here, because Nigel getting betrayed at a world title opportunity is a perfect moment for it. I'm just worried that Daniel Garcia, he needs a bit of rehabilitation right now.
Yeah. Once again, let's just use the world title of another company for our bottom of the card angle. Oh, great. What's next? Kazuchika Okada, the AEW Unified Championship against Swerve Strickland. If Okada decides to mentally show up, could be good, or we could get the Okada we've been getting for years.
You haven't been watching any of the programming for this, but you couldn't find two people less interested in having a match with each other than these two. We talked about it last week in our very comedic, like, why is this match happening at Forbidden Door? But Swerve does a legitimate injury, a knee injury.
Yeah.
He is already using it in promos, and Okada's using it in promos, just kind of, set the table that he's not 100%, and that's the reason why Okada is going to win. I hope that there's enough mutual professional respect for each other that they put at least a 4-star match out. These are two promotional world champions and top of their game over the last decade. So going into it thinking, I hope these guys have a good match together. That's not what I want to think going into this match. I hope it is as good as it can possibly be, but there's kind of like that cringe moment of like, I don't know what we're gonna get out of this match. It might just be average.
Yeah, part of Okada's ongoing paid vacation. Next. Okay, you talk about this one because I don't give a crap. The AEW World Title, Hangman Adam Page, the weakest world champion out there, against MJF. Tell us why we should give a crap about this one. I sure don't.
And we're going so well, Steven. Last week on AEW Dynamite, Hangman Adam Page acted like a true babyface world champion, and he talked down the challenger to a point where the challenger agreed to stipulations that did not benefit him because he was so rattled by the babyface. And everybody cheered. Everyone thought, like, this is great. This is fantastic.
And I'm sure it sounded totally natural, like all of Hangman Page's promos sound completely natural as he sounds out the words on the monitor while that he used to memorize his lines before going out to talk.
I don't think it's that bad, but
It ain't that good.
I'm going to let you enjoy your little gag there. However, last night on Dynamite, they undid everything by having Ricochet and his Gates of Agony goons kidnap Mark Briscoe and threaten to set him on fire if Hangman did not agree. If Hangman did not agree to a list of stipulations, including you can lose the title on a disqualification or a count out, and MJF can still use his contract at a later date. So everything that they did, they undid to the complete deflation of the audience. Now,
did the Rock go over there and book that too? Like he undoes everything in the other company?
No. So the pay-per-view is going to be the first title defense on a pay-per-view for Hangman Adam Page. In no way, shape, or form should he be losing this match. In every way, shape, and form, I would love to see MJF lose this match and then immediately execute his contract after losing the match and then losing the match again. I would actually tremendously enjoy that. I don't know if they're going to do that. And
Brad mentions that they got the NJPW rules for a title match through the Forbidden Door, meaning a count out, disqualification, the title changes hands.
I respect. I didn't actually think about that part. Still, I don't like how they got there.
Yeah.
It was silly in a lot of ways, and I really like Hangman Adam Page. He is one of my favorite wrestlers. So every time you kind of tear him down, it hurts me a little.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. You are free to use your own agency and tear down wrestlers as you see fit.
Thanks.
No problem.
I don't get it with this guy.
I mean, Cowboys in wrestling is a very hard gimmick to pull off because it's a dated reference, and you also have to really convey the gimmick more than other people have to convey theirs. So
no, Chase Owens is killing it.
Yeah, it said everything that they brought everyone back in the House of Torture G1 finals, and Chase Owens was nowhere to be seen.
Okay, well, what else we got here?
We have one more match after this, but I am looking forward to this. I am a little tired of MJF in the main event scene, but they really do need to finish this up because they set the groundwork for Hangman and MJF all the way back in April and May before the Owen Hart tournament. So I can't be critical that they're not doing long-term stories when they do them, but I can be critical that I think that there are some mistakes being made in the booking here.
Okay.
And we have a main event. The weirdest main event ever, the AEW version of the Dog Pound Cage match.
Why is this match happening? All right, so this is just another example of the disrespect that AEW shows toward New Japan booking in the first place. So on one side, we have Hiroshi Tanahashi, who's, I think, just going along to get along at this point. Darby Allin, a very captivating guy. Kenny Omega, excellent wrestler.
Haven't seen him since Texas.
Will Ospreay, excellent wrestler who's hurt. Kota Ibushi, who is no longer an excellent wrestler, used to be, but he is the zombie version of a guy that used to be really, really good on one side. Okay, a mishmash of baby faces. That's not the first time we've done that. Just about every Survivor Series match in history is
a coterie of cool dudes.
On the other side, we have Claudio Castagnoli, again, the guy who used to be pretty good and still is pretty good. Gabe Kidd, who makes no sense whatsoever to be in this match. I understand that in AEW he's with the Death Riders, but after all the stuff, this is the disrespect I'm talking about, Jeremy. After the whole thing where Tanahashi is crying at Wrestle Dynasty for the effort that Gabe Kidd went into defending the honor of the Lion Mark, and after they have a match, a one-on-one match where Gabe Kidd shows deep respect for Hiroshi Tanahashi, now they're in a steel cage match against each other with no explanation. In there with John Moxley and the ratings murderers themselves, Huey and Dewey Jackson. Just look at this picture. These are the least.
I forgot about the Tanahashi and Gabe Kidd crying thing, and so like the
least intimidating professional wrestlers in history, Huey and Dewey. This match is a mess. It shouldn't be happening. It's disrespectful to New Japan for it to be happening. It's further evidence that they don't care. These is this whole relationship has been nothing but a one-way street that has been to benefit Tony Khan, and it has hurt New Japan. Enough of this crap. I don't care what happens in this match. I just hope nobody gets hurt further, but everybody in it's already damaged. So what's the difference? It's just none of this should be happening. This is crap.
It's a spectacle match. It's a
spectacle match with people who can't physically do it anymore.
I hear you. They built the entire pay-per-view around Will Ospreay, and Will Ospreay can't wrestle a singles match. And so the next best thing they're going to do is bring out the match that he created in New Japan last year against the War Dogs and try and run that kind of idea back. The best idea they've got, not a great idea. Half the baby faces are crippled and injured. Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi, God bless them, they didn't even Kota Ibushi didn't even know he was booked in this match until I'm in this match when he found out on Twitter. And it's like you've got Kenny Omega who if he's not coming out to promo this match, he literally got a call and he was probably like, yeah, sure, whatever. You know, it's just like, all right, I have a match on my contract. I got to do it. He's going to go back into his hole and hibernate afterward, and we'll get a promo in 4 or 5 weeks with maybe a match that comes out of this. I don't know. But right now, all 4 or 5 of the baby faces, minus Darby Allin, Darby Allin, I see having a match with Moxley at the next pay-per-view. Everyone else in this match, no idea. They're not even going to be around. You know, it's like Will won't be around next pay-per-view. Tanahashi won't be around next pay-per-view. The chances of Bushi and Omega having a match on the next pay-per-view, totally 50-50. Castagnoli and the Bucks, they might have matches. The Bucks are kind of doing this jobber gimmick. And then you got Gabe Kidd, whose first match back after hyperextending his knee is for a AEW show in the UK. No wonder Shingo Takagi is running him down in the promos about his loyalties in this thing. They're trying to make the best out of a situation that looked really, really bad.
Yeah. Fair enough. I've said my piece on it. This shouldn't be happening. It doesn't need to happen anymore. And isn't this supposed to be Tanahashi's final match in the UK?
I was so bummed that it's not Shibata, but it is what it is. Shibata will probably have the Ops match with Robbie X, Clark Connors, and Drew Maloney on the undercard. And maybe we'll get one more New Japan match. But that's 7 New Japan wrestlers on a crossover show in which we had 20 wrestlers wrestling in a round robin. So you can't tell me that they don't have enough wrestlers. They're just cherry picking what they want and throwing away the rest. And there's a lot of good meat on that bone still, and it is really frustrating because here's the thing: I'm getting this out of my system now, but I'm going to come back and I'm going to do this show on Sunday, and I'm probably really going to like the show. Because I'm going to remove myself from being a New Japan fan, and I'm just going to watch PLE wrestling stuff between the two companies when I can and enjoy it and just not think about the lens of New Japan. Because when you do that, it becomes so frustrating to feel like you're just shouting into the void. And there are going to be good matches on here, and there's going to be spots that I think are going to be great. It is the missed potential, though, that more than anything else bothers me about this show, is that you have so many opportunities to raise the awareness of what's great about both promotions in a cooperative show like this, and you're just not interested.
And once again, we will be having a show with a 10-man steel cage spot fest that means absolutely nothing and makes no sense. A match that denigrates the prestige of the IWGP World Heavyweight title and uses it for an opening match feud that will probably land with an utter thud. And Hiromu Takahashi doing a job for a guy with a mid-card title. That's the New Japan presence on this pay-per-view.
I really thought that when they scheduled this show right after the G1, that they had a plan. That they were looking at this and okay, we're doing this and we're doing this. We can do something with this. We can coordinate. We can come up with something that really shows the synergy between these two companies. And the fact that they were unable to capitalize on that, I think, is not something that we are highlighting enough. This is a self-inflicted mistake on one of the biggest shows of the year, simply because the people running these shows are too spread thin to really understand what they can do with it and really maximize the benefits for both companies.
Yeah, and Brad mentions that the other match there for El Presidente is Hiroshi Tanahashi, Katsuyori Shibata, Michael Oku, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Zazaya versus Kyle Fletcher, Hechicero, Robbie X, and Manders and Shire from Rev Pro. It'll be on the Rev Pro streaming service.
And that's cool. I saw that match on there, and I'm like,
I'd rather see that one.
But on January 5th in the Tokyo Dome, Tanahashi and Shibata, January 4th. I thought it was on January 5th.
You're talking about the match they had already?
No. Tanahashi, I thought, had a match on the Dynasty that.
Yeah, with Shibata. Yeah, that was on January 5th.
That's what I'm saying, on January 5th.
Oh,
Shibata came out in the middle of the ring and faced off with Hiroshi Tanahashi after rescuing him. And
that was the 4th. Their match was on the 5th. They wrestled each other on the 5th.
They didn't wrestle each other on the 5th.
Yeah, they did. There was an exhibition match on the 5th.
Shibata and Tanahashi?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Because he saved him, then got on the microphone and said, tomorrow, you and me.
Oh. I always thought they were going to run it back at this show here. And
no, I know you did, and it would have made sense, but that was the
Are you sure they had a match there?
I'm pretty sure.
Are you looking it up?
I'm looking it up right now. I'm looking at it. If I can find the doggone link. Hold on. Oh, they're giving me the AI crap. Just give me the doggone.
Wrestle Dynasty.
Yeah, Tanahashi versus Katsuyori Shibata ended in a time limit draw, a grappling rules exhibition match.
I thought they were going to run it back.
Yeah, I thought they might have done it because the reason it was a legitimate idea, Jeremy, because it was a 5-minute grappling exhibition match because the stranglehold they put on Shibata for going off the script the previous time. In England, they could have just had a match. Whereas in Japan, politically, it's tricky to say we're going to let Katsuyori Shibata wrestle a full match. New Japan doesn't want to do that. So it made sense that they would have done it under the banner of an AEW Forbidden Door.
I believe you. I'm just sitting here thinking, I don't even remember this match from 9 months ago. I watched too much goddamn wrestling.
Well, there's been a lot going on.
We went a little bit over, so why don't you get us out of here?
All right. So once again, just wanted to mention, Power Bombshells will be doing the pre-show. Jeremy, you and who are you going to be doing? You and Garrett are going to be doing the post-show after Forbidden Door on Sunday, right here, Fight Game Media Network. We got you covered. Don't forget about the other shows on Fight Game Media Network, like the Wrap and the 5-Star Joshi, all that good stuff. We got the whole world covered for you.
We'll get your hot take next Thursday about Forbidden Door.
We'll get yours. I'm not watching it. I ain't watching this.
You might still have a hot take regardless of watching, Steven.
I might. Well, you can tell me the wonders of the Adam Page match and how.
Can't wait.
Okay, so with that in mind, I want to say thank you to everybody who joined us here live for your comments. We appreciate them. We really enjoy interacting with you guys, and for everybody that listens or watches later, we appreciate your time. Again, we know that you have a lot of choices. We're grateful that you spend some of your time with us. So we'll be back next Thursday, and we'll be talking about. We've had some matches announced, but they're off in the future. We'll get to them next week and tell you about some of the matches that have been announced in New Japan Pro Wrestling, talk Forbidden Door, any other news that comes up. So for Jeremy Finestone, I'm Stephen Conway. This has been Speaking of Strong Style, and we will talk to you again real soon.